Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
To Think Big with Dan and Qasim. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Hi, my name is Destin George. I'm the founder of Cardio, a gamified movement and fitness app, and I'm currently living in Austin, Texas, but originally from Kentucky.
Awesome. So in terms of cardio, can you just tell our audience, like, what is it exactly and how you got the idea for it?
Yeah, so Cardio is a gamified movement app. The idea of it is turning your outdoor walking, running, and cycling and turning it into a team-based game of turf war. So the way I kind of compare it is if you had Capture the Flag and Strava together mixed into one. So the idea is like Strava, Garmin, and these other apps, as you walk, run, bike, whatever it is that you're doing, you track your mile pace, your distance, your calories, the route that you covered. And while still tracking all those stats the same way you would from Strava and Garmin, we also incorporate on top of that the ability for you to claim that route. So let's say, because we're in Austin, you went through Town Lake and you ran around the 10-mile loop. In addition to tracking your 10-mile run, your mile pace, your distance, calories burned, when you ran, you also could run that for a team. So let's say you had a Zing team. You could actually have a team with your colors, your logo, and that area would be claimed by Zing. Now, let's say that Cardio had a team and somebody walked or ran it after you. We would actually steal that area from your team. You would get notified that somebody from the Cardio team ran through Town Lake, and the only way to get that area back would be to walk or run through it again. And the idea is using this fun social gamification, create a fun, collaborative, social experience to make your walking, running, biking, whatever it is you're doing outdoor cardio-wise, a little bit more fun and engaging.
Awesome. So do you do like a lot of outdoor cardio and you just felt that it was sort of boring? Or I guess like what kind of inspired you to start this platform?
Yeah, the main idea came from the fact that I did not enjoy doing cardio. I did not really enjoy running. Cycling was cool, but I didn't have a bike. And during COVID is when I graduated college in May 20. I was stuck in my college apartment, the 3 months between May and August before my lease was up and college was over. There was obviously nothing to do because everything was closed. Couldn't go to the gym, couldn't play basketball, couldn't do a lot of these other social events I would typically do to get, my workouts in. And so there was really nothing left to do except body weight stuff in my apartment and run. And I was cool with doing push-ups. Push-ups are fine, sit-ups are cool, planks are all right, but running was never a thing I enjoyed doing. And I would try to get myself to do 1 mile runs every day. And I found myself absolutely hating the process of doing it. It was just not fun to me. It was boring, it was unengaging, and I was very unmotivated to do it. But I thought, that is a problem I have. And I know other people do too, because cardio is something that a lot of Americans don't do. Heart disease is something that runs in, unfortunately, the zeitgeist of being an American. People eat bad and they don't do any cardio. And I knew it was a problem across the board for everybody. And especially for me, a guy who enjoys athletics and is pretty, interested in movement and getting in shape and whatnot. If I feel that way, I know there's hundreds of millions of people who feel the same exact way, and billions if you look at it on an international level. I looked at apps like Strava and Garmin, and they're not really good at motivating you to want to run. They're good for tracking it, but if you're not motivated, Strava is not going to be the thing that pushes you over the top. So I wondered, what could you do to help motivate people? And then the first thing I always think about being a guy who's came up and played a lot of games in his life is gamification. Finding a way to take something you don't enjoy doing and making it fun. I remember when I was a kid, my mom, she knew I would never put my laundry in the dirty hamper. She got a hamper that was shaped like a basketball rim. And I put clothes in it every day because I would dunk them, I would shoot them. It just made it fun. And I wondered, could you do that same simple idea of gamification and bring that onto a scalable digital platform for people who run by themselves, especially during COVID? I looked at Pokemon Go and how they were getting people to walk every day. Here's a fun fact. Pokemon Go tracked more miles every month during COVID and pandemic and quarantine than Strava did. And so when I think about the fact that people who run Strava are running half marathons, 10Ks, people on Pokemon Go are maybe walking a mile or 2 miles a day tops. And yet, just by the law of large numbers, there were so many of those people who would not use an app like Strava, but would use something like Pokemon Go that they tracked more miles over time. I wondered, could we create that same type of effect, but with an app that does track your stats, like mile pace, distance, and calories? And so that was where the idea of creating a gamified cardio fitness app came from. This is around October of 2020. And then we started, I guess at that point, it was just me. We built a team eventually. But at that point, I started pushing on it, ideating, calling runners, calling non-runners, doing research, using other trackers. And then over, about a year and a half, ideated it to what it is now. launched that in test flight in 2022, and then we launched publicly in the App Store in January of 23.
Awesome. So I'm curious more about that, right? Because I think there's so many people that listen to this will have an idea or start an app, but they always, and I see this often, they struggle with getting users. So like, how did you go about getting user adoption, getting people on your platform?
Yeah, that was the hardest part, because you can have a great idea, but if nobody knows about it, then who cares? So
Right.
one of the main ideas around the app was, how do we make this something that would make money, that people would pay for it, A, and then B, something that can lend itself towards organic virality and sharing and growth. And so initially it was just this game of turf war where you're on 3 generic teams and you're competing against individuals and whatnot. But that's kind of the stance, because there actually have been other apps that have done similar things to what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons why they didn't really succeed. They didn't have that social effect as much. And so I was thinking, well, what if we, instead of making the teams generic red, green, blue, or whatever, what if we made them legitimately run clubs? Like we said, run clubs can create a team on here, and they could have premium features for management, organization, data collection, challenge other groups, have internal competition among each other. And when they claim an area, instead of it just being their colors, it would be their logo and their color. And if I were a user of the app and I saw this area was owned by Zing, I could click on it and see that, oh, this area is owned by Zing, and then have an explanation of who Zing is. And I could even join their team, and they could have links for me to engage with them outside of the app. Oh, go to our website, register for our next race, register for our next run club meetup, et cetera, that type of thing. And I figured if we did that, not only could we lend this community-oriented feature set as a way to get people to pay for a subscription for it, but then we could also use it as a way for a run club leader to say, hey, it's in my best interest to get all my run club members using this, because every time they run, they're literally putting our brand on the map with all these other local walkers, runners, cyclists, and whatnot, and use it as an engagement tool for them to be able to see what their team members and community members are doing outside of their maybe 1 to 2 group runs a week, and then also make it a fun little competition internally and externally against the other run clubs and groups in the city.
Do you have a lot of run clubs here in Austin using your platform? Or I guess like talk about that, I guess, in terms of where your customers are and kind of how they're using you guys today.
Yeah, so we have about 350 run clubs on the app currently, predominantly in the US, even more so in Austin and New York. Those are our 2 biggest cities, but we've got people in pretty much every state. I think we have at least 1 user in all 50 states, and we have at least 1 user in 70 countries now.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. So in terms of monetizing, so is it like a subscription for each runner? Or do you like charge like the run clubs? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So we're rolling that part out now. The first year was really throw it out there and see if it even matters. Like, do people even care this app exists? And that was our focus. Monetization was not the first step. The first step was there's 100+ running apps, and people use Strava, or they use Garmin, they use Nike Run Club, they use Map My Run, they use Runkeeper, they use Apple Health, they use even Zombies Run and other apps like that. So I figured before we even start trying to make money, we need to figure out, do people even give a shit that we exist first?
Right.
Main thing we did was put it out there and just focus on distribution, marketing, get people to try it out. And the reviews were good. We had 4.7 stars and about 225 reviews. And we figured, all right, cool. Now let's focus on actually trying to make some money. So now, going into your question, monetization is our focus. And our core way of making money at this point is through group subscriptions. So you use a run club, subscribe. Of course, it's free, freemium model. You can use the app, and there's a lot of features that you get without even having to pay. You can create a custom team, add your own unique colors, put your logo and whatnot. You can do all that for free. And then as a premium group, you would be able to sign up and get advanced analytics for everybody on your team. You'd be able to edit and change things after you created the team. You'd also be able to challenge directly other teams. You have an in-game chat. You have the ability to schedule events like, oh, we're going to run Town Lake at 10 p.m. on this day, and you could schedule that and have it actually sync with other people's calendars on your group. So pretty much these community engagement and management features. Then for users, again, free, but we have a premium user subscription that we're adding. There's a concept inside the app that we're launching called Energy, which pretty much enables you to be more effective in stealing turf than non-premium users. We're also going to eventually add in ads, not anything that's like pop-up wise, but just banners here and there. And of course, they'll remove that ad experience. And then eventually we're going to have advanced analytics. So you'll have your weekly recap of your miles, how it tracks from what you did last week to this week, and then being able to track, advanced stats like elevation gain, steps, things like that as well.
Hey y'all, it's Dan Melnick, the CEO of Zing. And I wanted to share a special offer for all of our listeners. Right now, if you need software development services, we'll give you 2 weeks of a free trial. Do you need to update your website? Do you want to build a mobile app? Do you want to update something that you've been working on for a long time? We've worked in a high-level technologies like AI, machine learning, blockchain. So shoot me a text, 817-874-2208. Thank you.
Awesome. So what would you say is like the biggest challenge that you currently face in your business?
I think the biggest challenge is a twofold problem of making sure that people know we exist because, we have 25,000 people now, which is a lot. I went to an Austin FC game and I was like, wow, the amount of people who fit in this stadium is not even the amount of people who have downloaded my app. That is a cool
Wow.
feeling. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot. So the
Right.
constant problem is how do we continue to get people to know we exist and be competitive enough that instead of downloading Strava, Garmin, Apple Health, all these other apps that they use in the space, they want to use us. That's always going to be an issue distribution for a consumer app. And then after distribution, it would be just keeping up with, the demands of all the users. We get a ton of product features that people ask for. They want advanced stat tracking like elevation gain and heart rate and all these different things we
Right,
don't
right.
track. They want other features around the competition. They want to be able to, and then there's also the fact that we have bugs that we have to fix. There's an
For
issue
sure.
with calorie tracking. Oh, if you run this many miles, the app crashes. Oh, this person has 150,000 blocks, and our database wasn't even built to track somebody owning this many blocks, and it causes too many, too much megabytes and CPUs,
Right, right.
and it makes the app crash, and all this different type of stuff that we have to keep up with. So just keeping the product optimized for the number of users we have and the features that they want to have, and then also making the decisions internally. Hey, we have 50 different features that we can add to this app that we have requested. We have one engineer, maybe two if we hire a contractor. There's no way
Right.
we can build all 50 at the same time. We
Right,
got
right.
two this quarter that we're going to make. Which two are they? And we have to come to an agreement or at least a compromise as a team. Okay, these are the two that we think are going to be the highest ROI. And sometimes
Right.
we're right, sometimes we're wrong. And that's, a difficult process because you got to sit there and try to decide, even though these people are asking for this, they might actually want this, a
Right.
faster instead of the car type thing. And then sometimes like, damn, we should have just actually made a faster horse. Oops.
Right. So to integrate with like wearables, is it like best with like an Apple Watch, for example, or like what's the best use case for it?
So either Apple Watch, using it natively on your iPhone, or we have a Strava and Garmin integration where if you use those apps, you can port your runs from those apps into cardio. Those are typically
Awesome.
what we see.
And do you have like any components now of like AI or machine learning?
Not yet. Eventually we do. Again, going into the 50 features, what can you
Right,
do?
right.
People said, oh, it'd be so cool if you could use AI and ML to be able to see how far I'm running and then be able to give me specific challenges and milestones
Right.
and almost like a training program in the app, which I think is really cool. And we do that to an extent. I don't, a lot of people throw out AI and ML. I try not to do that until I actually have built something that is interesting enough for me to say that. But we do have it in the app where we have challenges that your team gets every week, and those challenges are based on whatever your performance was the previous week. So
Right.
if you did 150 miles, we'll make the next challenge 160. If you only do it 125, we'll lower it to 130. That type of
Right,
thing is
right.
a way to base it off of what you did. And we can technically say, oh, yeah, we're learning based on what you do, what challenges we should give you. We don't want to give a marathon runner a challenge to run 3 miles this week. That's not even a challenge to that person. But we don't want to give a person who only runs 3 miles a week the challenge of running a marathon either, because that's not going to be
Right.
meaningful for them either. So
Right.
we do a little bit of that, but I'm not going to go out and say, yeah, we're building Chat GPT level AI.
Right. 100%. So what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this business?
I would say the biggest piece of advice I would have gave myself is that everything takes twice as long and costs twice as much. That'd be the main thing because I went into cardio thinking, oh man, I got this idea. It's 2021. I remember when I was first going and pitching people, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get a CTO. Once we get a CTO, we'll have this in market in 3 months. And then within a year, we're gonna be at 100,000 users, and then we'll raise a couple $1 million and yada, 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 yada. And we didn't even have an app in test flight until 2022. And I was
Right.
projecting that we would have 100,000 users by then. We hadn't even launched publicly
Yeah.
in the App Store yet. Because I just realized, man, apps are hard. Like, there's a lot to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Launching features when you don't, like, it's so funny because this is the first app. I wouldn't say it's the first app I've ever worked on, but it's the first app that's legitimately gone to market.
Right.
I was actually making meaningful progress every single day and running it full time. It wasn't just an idea. It wasn't something that I talked to a buddy in college who was a computer science major. It was like, yeah, let's do this and do that. And it never went anywhere. This is the first time I've actually legitimately built something that went to market, that people used, that they spent money on, that they had actual critiques for.
Right.
And I realized, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. There's a lot that goes into that. And when you're on the outside looking in, it seems so simple. Like, oh, I use Instagram or Twitter and it crashes, or there's a bug, or this button doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or I didn't get feedback when I pressed this button, so I didn't know that my request went through, or blah, blah. This isn't intuitive. Why does this button lead to that button? How do I even find this feature in the settings? Yada, yada, yada. And as a user, I'm like, oh, Meta's so dumb. Why don't they do this and do that? And now I realize, wow, now I get it. I'm so sorry I never said anything mean to you. I'll take it all back.
100%. Yeah, it's not easy. So on that note, if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for cardio?
A year from now, I think we're going to be in a very different space. We have a huge announcement that's coming up in the next month, probably. I think that's going to give us a bunch of national acclaim, recognition, and a huge influx of users. It's a really big partnership and a PR appearance. It's going to be great. Then after that, I think, and that's going to be our big inflection points. You know, you see what a lot of consumer apps, they have this big inflection point where something happens that just makes it go viral. And I think we have a great product. The reviews are good. People love it. It's sticky when they use it. The biggest problem now is just, again, distribution. And if we get the distribution, and especially when we can put in a strong operating system behind that to start generating revenue, having advertisers, and then keeping users engaged and using our app and getting more integrations with other apps like Nike Run Club and others that we want to add in later, I think we put ourselves in a really strong position to be one of the top, if not the top, gamified running app in the market.
So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess best ways to get in contact.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me at Destin George Bell on LinkedIn. Actually had a funny, I mean, even then, like talking about, funny stuff in this process. We just had a really big moment on LinkedIn today. So again, the name is Cardio. It's literally spelled car.io, just like the word cardio, but with a dot between the D and the I.
Yeah.
And people will look it up. And then the thing is, because car.io is a domain, it automatically it just takes people directly to car.io, which is a dead domain that PayPal owns. The thing is, PayPal owns it. They bought a company called Car.io all the way back in 2010, and they don't use that for anything. And they have like some API documentation on it, but like nothing meaningful. And I've been trying to buy that domain for the last 2 years. And today it just dawned on me, dude, I have like 8,000 followers on LinkedIn. Why don't I just make a post on LinkedIn asking for people to blow up the CEO of PayPal to get him to sell it to me? And I made that post at 9 a.m. today. And mind you, I've sent emails to him because I found his email. I sent him an email. I sent other people at PayPal an email. I reached out to their PayPal ventures team. I went through their sales vendor contact forms and was like, hey, I'm trying to use this. And they're like, oh, yeah, what do you want to do? I'm like, actually, I just want to use this I just use this form as a way to get you to sell me the car.io domain. And those people either didn't know who to connect me to or ignored me. And all this different stuff, DMing people on LinkedIn directly. And I figured, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to leverage my social media clout on LinkedIn to get people to blow this man's phone up. And within an hour, I had 3 people who are like on the AP department or the IP department, on the IP department for PayPal, who were like, yeah, we'll reach out. We'll talk about it. Please take the post down. He's getting his phone blown up. Can't even enjoy his morning coffee. He's getting all these messages and pings and mentions. And it's funny. Like, I should have done that quicker. But yeah, I would like to really grow the brand of what we're doing and what I'm doing and become the top gamified running app. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Instagram at gfortune_500. Those are the platforms I'm the most active on, and message me. I'm open to chat.
Awesome. Well, Destin, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks you, Dan.